All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and hope you're keeping well out there. These are certainly interesting times. And with these interesting times with crisis, there's a lot of questions happening out there. Social media might be part of the reason we're a bit confused. What you can or cannot do, what you should or should not do. And I get that we're maybe not all happy with what's going on, but we all have to make some adaptations and sacrifices to make it work. Here today, very thankful to have joining us Sarnia Police Chief Norm Hansen. Thanks for being here, Chief.
No trouble. Thank you for having me.
And when I say interesting times, this has really got to be interesting times for people in your position, our frontline responders.
Absolutely. For the last week and a half, at least, maybe a little bit more than that, I've been meeting every morning at 9 a.m. with the Sarnia senior management team, including Parks and Rec and the fire department and finance and everybody else at City Hall that this affects. And we've been trying to make decisions based on the information we're getting. And it's been very challenging.
Yeah, well, can't imagine that world. So thank you to you and everyone for your service, and again, in these interesting times. Our city currently is in a state of emergency. Can you just define for everybody what that means?
Well, similar to the provincial state of emergency, it allows certain things to occur. For instance, it allows quick changing of bylaws if new bylaws are needed to be enacted. The provincial one allows for quick provincial laws to be enacted. And basically, when you make a rule, there has to be some sort of, or else, I suppose. So they have enforcement capabilities on various decisions.
Yeah. And of course, I'm guessing, like I said at the beginning here, a lot of us aren't liking what's going on. We want to be able to move around, and we still want to engage somehow. Would you say most are following that, but there's obviously still a bit that are not, right?
I think so. I think for the most part, Sarnians are taking it seriously and Canadians are taking it seriously. There are those that always think of me first, and I think that's upsetting. An example of that would be a discussion we've had over the last few days about public parks and playgrounds. Some cities have taken the initiative to completely close parks. Others have fenced off the playground equipment. Well, for starters, Sarnia we all decided we would put some warning signs on the playground equipment advising people. Obviously, these cannot be sanitized, so please do not use if possible. My own feeling is I would hate to see Canada Park closed because it's nice for people to get out of the house and go for a walk, as long as they're obeying, the social distancing ideas and things like that. I would hate to see a handful of people that are ignoring things and letting people play on equipment and things like that ruin it for everyone else.
Yeah, you kind of led into my next question, and actually interesting. Before you came on live, I just had a bit of a debate with my wife, who wants to go for a walk, and I said I'm not sure if we should still be doing that or not. Is it okay to still go for a walk?
Well, from what I've heard from the medical officer of health, as long as you're paying attention to social distancing, as in you're not walking with your arms around each other, you're not sitting on the street and high-fiving or hugging each other, I think it's still healthy to get out and go for a walk as long as you maintain your social distance from everybody.
Yeah, well, and I think I would add to that by saying it's probably important to do some form of exercise still, aside from keeping our sanity, that sort of thing. So is it fair to say as well that if my wife and I want to get in the car and just go for a drive, we're not getting out anywhere, we're just going for a drive, and we want to waste gas, is that okay?
I mean, you live together, right? So it's not like you aren't in contact with each other. Yeah, that's right. It's not like you're not in contact with each other anyways. But for you then to drop by a residential facility and pick up grandma, that's probably not a good idea, right?
Right.
You don't want to contact people that you're not normally in contact with, and certainly not in vulnerable groups.
Right. And there's so many. Everybody is in a different situation. Some people are married, some people have two homes, some people are only able to see their children based on court decisions. There's just a lot of stuff going on. And one I hear a lot is, can I still visit my family?
Boy, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
We aren't. Quite often, my son and his wife come for dinner on the weekend, and this weekend they decided to forego that, and they're just trying to quarantine themselves, and so are we. Yes, does it get a little frustrating when you're used to seeing family and people that you'd like to visit and do things with? It's frustrating, but I think short-term pain is for long-term gain, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I can tell you from a personal note, I have two children. They're older, they're 19 and 22. And about a week before we were sort of announced that we were in state of emergency, they had already been at their mom's, and they were ready to come over and visit. And I had to say, I love you, but I think you just need to stay at your mom's because that's where you've been. And we're just going to have to go with that for now. We may get out for a walk, but we're going to distance ourselves. And fortunately, we have FaceTime. But hard decisions are having to be made here, I think, Chief. And that's probably the most difficult part for most people is, most of us don't like being told what to do. And maybe we just don't realize how serious this is, but I don't know how people could not take it serious. I mean, you don't just wake up one morning and call a state of emergency.
No, you're right. I can't remember the last one we've had. I don't think we've had a city state of emergency in my reign of terror here, that's for sure. And about not liking being told what to do, you're right. I mean, I've spent 35 years telling people what to do and they don't want to hear it. So you're right, but it's not, I don't think people have to set this aside from a normal state of affairs. We're not telling you what not to do because it's the law or because we say so. This is for everyone's good. It's not just for the people we're talking to. It's not for me. It's not for you, not for John. It's for everyone because we have to take this seriously and try and beat this thing.
Yeah. For those of you who are watching, we're talking with Sarnia Police Chief Norm Hansen, and we have our friend John Sottosanti, Officer Sottosanti, in the background taking care of things as well, thanks to him. If you have some questions, we're live in multiple places, but I will only see your comments and your questions if you're watching live from the Show with David Burrows page. And make your comments and ask any questions. Now's the time to get them out. And I know our chief will do best to answer those as we go on. Talking about, the police services, and I guess this would probably, we could relate this into any front line, but what's happening with the police services? Are they limited or restricted compared to what we're used to?
I would say somewhat. We've made precautions for both the public and ourselves in order to try and not spread this. For instance, you'll see that the front door of the police station is locked. Someone has to pick up the phone and call the front desk and be allowed in, depending what the emergency is. It has to be something important from the command. The collision reporting center is operating, but it's operating in a different fashion. Someone comes in, calls in, the collision reporting employee goes out to the parking lot and deals with them rather than bringing them in the station. We're not doing in-person police checks. We're not doing, all this stuff can be done online or in another fashion. So that's basically what we're doing. Our officers, the way they respond to calls, people may get a screening question from our dispatchers prior to going to what we might call a non-emergency call to see if there's an extra layer of risk there. Our officers are with masks and gloves if they want to wear them. They're also suggested that if it's a more minor type call, they may show up to your house and call you from the car in the cruiser and do the interview that way. And that way, police officers come into contact with a lot of people each day. And if we don't need to come into your house with the possibility of passing the virus, then we're not going to.
Right. Fair enough. And I think one of the things I'd like to add, if I can, is if you have questions, call the Sarnia Police Service. Do not call 911. We want to keep the lines of 911 open and available for those who really need it. Is that a problem right now?
It has been at the outset, I suppose. I think it's calmed down a little bit now, but absolutely, we don't want people calling 911 for non-emergency calls. And in fact, a lot of the questions that people have about the virus, we aren't going to be able to answer. It'd be better to call the public health unit. They're the ones that have the up-to-date information on cases, on symptoms, on precautions. I get it. When nobody knows what else to do, they call 911, but we don't want it tied up because there could be an emergency. We have had emergencies in the last little while, and we want to focus on them with 911.
Right. So the 886 one number, is that an accurate number to call if they have questions?
It is, but again, if it's a health question, we're not doctors, right? If it's a police response question, yes, that's something to call.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Well, we'll put that a little bit later after this live broadcast. I'm just going to go over to some questions here. If you have questions, folks, be sure to be watching directly from the Show with David Burrows page. That's the only way I'll be able to see your comments. If you're watching anywhere else, we won't see them. We do have, let's take a look here. So Carrie Ann T, thank you for your question. Says, please have the officer explain to teens that they can't hang out with each other. This sounds like a mom question.
I had teens at one time too. As a matter of fact, a long time ago, I was one. You want to talk about people that don't want to be told what to do? There's a demographic that doesn't like to be told what to do. I don't think you can say don't hang out with each other, but I mean, as it is now, a lot of their social interaction is online anyway, right? So I think parents can just encourage that. I never thought you'd hear my kids. I hope they can't see this because they're going to support that. My dad said chat online. I don't think so. But I encourage that type of hanging out, if you will, for now. Because the kids are going to get stir crazy too, sitting at home, no school, no jobs, no interaction with their friends. But they certainly can pass the virus as easy as you and I can. So I think the way to do that is to explain that you are not going to pass COVID-19 chatting online.
Right. Good point. Well, and I think, I've looked at this too, try to take a negative into a positive, right? It's a good time to build relationships with our children that maybe, we didn't have before, or play some board games. I know that Netflix is having a hard time right now, but, find new opportunities to engage and interact. We get that the teenagers I want to hang out. I'm an old teenager. I still want to hang out, but have to be a little more responsible with that.
That's right.
Barry Loxton's out there. He says we all need to make some sacrifices for the greater good of our community. Stay safe. Yeah, good point. Dave St. Clair is out here, and he's got more of a comment. It's kind of going back, I think, to what you had already said. He noticed today as I was driving around Sarnia, a lot of the playgrounds have numerous children and parents. Should something be done?
And again, I agree with you. That discussion has come up several times at the senior management team meetings. At the present time, we aren't closing the parks. I really don't want to close parks. I mean, I'm picking Cantera Park. We have a number of beautiful parks in Sarnia, but Cantera Park's a great place to go and hang out and not be packed together, right? I mean, you can easily be spread out. There's a lot of room there. You can walk the path. You can run the Terry Fox loop. You can walk your dog. The playground equipment is a problem, but it's very difficult to enforce that. I could just imagine the hue and cry of one of my officers is arresting a mom who let her son swing on the swings or something.
Right.
If it comes down to it, we will have to enforce rules if that comes out from the government, from the province. But at the present time, we're trying to appeal to people's common sense, if you will. Please listen. I mean, how could you possibly sanitize playground equipment? It's not possible.
Right. A little further to that point, Carrie says, will police start patrolling playgrounds and at least reminding people of the rules and stopping kids on the street to ask where they're going? I'm before you answer, I'm going to guess that's a bit of a manpower issue too.
There is a manpower issue. We only have a certain number of officers to go around. And we also have officers that are quarantined. We have officers and civilian staff here that came back from travel before all this. Right. And we've had to send them home for 14 days. So we're shorthanded like everybody else is. I think there's going to be in the future, should those orders come out, there will be some action from police and from bylaw people probably. That's part of the state of emergency. I don't want to speak for bylaw, but I know that there's been discussion between us and them that there might be a collaborative effort to at least advise people.
Right. Okay, very good. I want to go over to the Sarnia Police Service Facebook page here. Just give me one moment. There we go. Um, and I see even the Sarnia Police, they have their opportunity to rant as well. And the rant here is concerns from Sarnia Transit is that some members of the public are free riding on the transit buses due to boredom. This has become a real problem, has it?
Yeah, actually, what happened was in discussion with Sarnia Transit, there was a decision made among the senior management that it would be a good idea to limit contact between passengers and drivers. And the way to do that would be to have people enter and exit from the back of the bus and not be charged, not have to exchange money. And so
Right.
why transit was made free for now. And transit riding had actually been down quite a bit since this hit. People were paying attention and not using it if they didn't have to. And then all of a sudden it was free. And so transit usage went up. And in a sad kind of way, we had a laugh about it at the senior management team. We thought,
Right.
we can't win for losing here. So no, people, don't go for a joyride on the transit just because it's free, please. It's the whole point is to try and keep people safe and off transit, and just use transit for those that really need it. Again, a few people could spoil it for everyone. In the end, what's going to happen? Are we going to have to shut transit down? Who knows?
Yeah, well, and I guess that's and I get why people would do that. I mean, it's probably something I would have thought of a few years ago too, and just let's go for a bus ride. But yeah, it's for the essential travel, and again, you make a good point in there. We don't start doing things that we're expected to do. We will be ordered to. Thou shalt not, and I guess we're not there yet, and I'm sure you don't want to see us go there. But have you had to fine anybody? Or is it? I read something about citations being given, but citations can be a warning as well. Is that correct?
Well, a citation is actually a ticket, but there can be warnings issued. So far, we've been very good. I mean, the first businesses to close down were bars, right? And we didn't have any complaints of people ignoring that, closing down. They closed down, and to great expense to themselves. I understand that. You're a business person. You're trying to operate a business, and now you're not operating. But we haven't had that. No. If this goes on, will we have some people defy things? Perhaps, and that's where the provincial emergency comes in, and it gives us authority to issue fines. Do I want to send my officer to some business that's trying to make $1 and issue a $5,000, $10,000 fine? No, I don't. But in the end, if we have to, we have to.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, once again, folks, so we've got just a couple of minutes left with our Sarnia Police Chief Norm Hansen, and thank you again, Chief, for joining us here today, because I know you've got your hands full. Is there anything else in particular you want to make sure gets put out there to the public that will help you and the rest of the officers, maybe ease the stress a little on your jobs?
Yeah, I guess the idea of grocery hoarding and toilet paper hoarding. I mean, honestly, when I took the job of chief of police, I did not think I'd be discussing toilet paper with the public, but
right.
Here I am. And it's become a worldwide thing, and that's thanks to what we're doing right now, social media, right? I mean, there's a toilet paper shortage, and everybody runs out and buys toilet paper. Well, there is no toilet paper shortage until everyone goes out and buys it, right?
Right.
Food, there has been no indication whatsoever that the food supply is dwindling, that we will not have enough food. Canada is very well supplied. We have a great system of distribution and production, and there's no threat to that. So by hoarding things, I know that there have been a few incidents where, I see your cart full of cleaning supplies and I decide to butt in, and now there's a fight on. I'm fighting over a roll of sanitary napkins or something.
Yeah, right.
I just want people to remain calm. I feel like in sometimes you see in the movies, remain calm, right? It's a stressful time. It's a stressful time for us.
Yeah. Well, and that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I know our premier had talked about especially right here in Ontario where toilet paper is made. There is an abundance available. And like you said, if it's only going to go away if we keep buying it all. And I'm thinking I'm holding on to my money right now.
Yeah, that's right. I don't see the need. I'm led to believe that this rumor started overseas, where the only supply of paper products in general was from China to some countries, and so they kind of panicked. But then somebody gets online and says that, and then all of a sudden somebody in the United States hears it, somebody in England hears it, and somebody here hears it, and everybody thinks we have a shortage.
Yeah, very good. Good points. Chief Norm Hansen, thank you so much for taking the time again out of your busy, extra busy life right now. And thank you to all the officers for your service here in our communities. And just like you want us to be, you be safe as well, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And it's not just us. It's everybody that's in working in the hospital, within the hospital, in internal staff at the hospital, not just the frontline people. Everyone that has to work here to fight this. I mean, I appreciate their help too.
Right on. Thanks again, Chief. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Take care.
All right. Well, privileged to have Sarnia Police Chief Norm Hansen joining us here today. I would appreciate him being here. Thanks to our friend Officer John Sottosanti for getting the chief set up there so we could do this live and making things work. And a lot of good points in there. I hope everybody was paying attention to that. That's sort of coming from the horse's mouth, if you will, the do's and don'ts. My wife will be happy to know that she can still go for a walk. Something important to remember, though, too, 911 is for emergency only calls. Police, emergency, fire, that's ambulance, right? If you have some questions that are police related, there's a number on the screen, 519-344-8861. Do not call them with medical questions. They're not able to do that. And that's just tying up the phone lines, right? Google the information first. A lot of your questions can be answered online. I did something to keep in mind too, that our elders are struggling, people who are secluded already and now are secluded even more. I talked to Donna Martin from St. Clair Child and Youth Services, who mentioned to me that they have a service that they're providing to call people who are in and just need a phone call daily to maybe don't have family around. So if you know somebody like that, we'll be talking more about that. She'll be joining us later in the week or next week as well. So thank you so much again to Sarnia Chief of Police Norm Hansen. And thanks to all of you for being here today and asking your questions. And please share this video around so we can get the proper information out there so that we're not getting confused with everything that's happening out there. Be accurate. In fact, I didn't get a chance to put this up. I'll do it right now. The City of Sarnia has a website. Pardon me. City of Sarnia website. There it is on your screen. If you want to find out more about what's happening with COVID-19 here in Sarnia, that is the link to follow and find out more. And stay off the bus. If you don't need to go on the bus, go for the walk. You can still go for the walk. The parks are still open, but practice social distancing, 2 meters apart. Jennifer and I look like a funny couple walking down the street. She gets the sidewalk and I get the road, apparently. But we separate ourselves. And try to keep your humor in all of this. I know we're all in frustrating times. We're all feeling the impact socially, economically, and I predict it's going to be some time before this is far from over. So we're going to have to start getting used to it and adjusting now. It is not a time to be selfish in this world. It is a time to think of others by following the proper conduct. That's my opinion anyway. I thank you all so much for joining. Keep following along on the Facebook page as we will be doing some more live broadcasting with some officials in our area. If you haven't heard yet, on Friday night, going to be doing a live broadcast along with K106.3 Friday night at 8 o'clock. We're going to have some local musicians that are going to go live for you, and we're going to be doing some other fun stuff as well. Again, thank you to Sarnia Police Services for being here today. And to all of you, take care of yourself and each other. Stay safe. Bye for now.